El año próximo.
El año próximo. Esperando.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Jack Swald, Department of Finance. As we discussed earlier this spring, the Student Aid Commission uses a grant delivery system for making state financial aid, such as Cal Grants, available for students. The May revision funds two proposals related to that system. First, the May revision includes $396,000 on a one-time basis for planning costs associated with the development of a replacement system. The project to develop the new system is currently at the end of the first stage of the state's four-stage process for approval of information technology projects. The first stage is a business analysis. The Commission's analysis is currently being reviewed by the Department of Technology. If approved, the project would advance to the second stage, which is an alternatives analysis. The Commission expects to complete this stage in 2016-17. The Commission also expects to begin the third stage, which is an analysis of potential solutions in 16-17 as well. This proposal provides funding for activities associated with the completion of the second stage and the beginning of work on the third stage. Second, the May revision provides $2 million to secure the existing grant delivery system. Of this amount, $1,445,000 is provided on a one-time basis, and $526,000 is provided on an ongoing basis. Your agenda displays the particular components of the request. These resources will address problems identified in a recent information technology security audit. The Commission is also expected to reallocate existing resources in future years to maintain its security until a new system is operational. These proposals make progress on procuring a new system while securing the existing system against threats. Thank you.
LAO?
Paul Golozewski with the LAO. Just to provide a little bit more context to the Department of Finance's comments. You heard a proposal regarding planning funds for CSAC's new IT system last year. And in the 15-16 budget, you provided $840,000, a little more than half of it, which was one time, for this purpose. After the budget was passed, the Department of Technology determined that CSAC wasn't ready to undertake all the funded planning activities. So CSAC essentially redirected some of the one-time money that you provided last year to plan a new system in order to do a risk assessment on its current IT system. And this is the risk assessment that identified various deficiencies that the Department of Finance mentioned. I think we would highlight that CSAC did spend some of the funding that you provided last year for one purpose, which was planning a new system, on a different purpose, which was assessing the risks of its current IT system. Nonetheless, the risk assessment did identify serious vulnerabilities, and while the state is planning to replace this system, CSAC will continue to need to use it for the next few years. So we do recommend adopting the governor's proposal to establish better security in the existing system while planning for the new one. Thanks.
Thank you. Student Aid Commission?
Hi, Lupita Cortez Alcala on behalf of the California Student Aid Commission. We are extremely pleased and grateful for the administration's investment in this critical infrastructure, so we'll take it. However, there are three critical elements related to the grant delivery system that were left unfunded in the May revision that make us difficult to complete stage 2 and 3 of the Department of Technology's state gate process. And that's market research, which is critical. And we requested $300,000 to conduct a market research in order to complete stage 2. And then the RFP development, which is about $350,000 to complete stage 3. These are both one-time expenses, and CSAC currently does not have the resources to do the work in-house, the money or personnel. We have all seen state IT projects fail, often due to a lack of good planning and preparation on the front end, and the stage gate process is designed to emphasize upfront planning in order to avoid future failures. And market research is critical and necessary component of any successful project. And like I said before, CSAC does not have existing funding to reallocate for that purpose. The third piece, is data governance. We are also very grateful for the investment in the security infrastructure. 1.9 is not a small number. However, no funding was included to review, classify, expunge, and archive the 50 million records we hold. And we have FERPA information, HIPAA information, personally identifiable information, military, law enforcement, foster youth, and immigration status. So we requested $600,000 in one time for contracts, as well as one system software specialist at $125,000 for ongoing to accomplish this task and maintain the data classification going forward. This is a critical step in securing the system and is also necessary to complete the stage gate process. It's a very labor-intensive process, and CSEC cannot absorb that work. With your support, we are confident the grant delivery system will be a success. And lastly, no funding was included for customer service. We were hopeful. We do have 50,000 calls we miss each year, and with the early FAFSA and prior, we were hoping for some funding to at least hire some students to help man the customer service line. But we had requested some full time for that. But we are grateful, very pleased, and we'll take what we got. But
Thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? No, we heard this issue loud and clear a few months ago, and we're certainly appreciative that you heard the commentary and suggestions and narrowed it and came back with what we think is a better approach. And not a lot of things funded in the May revise, so better be grateful.
We are. We
There's
are
a
very
big list
grateful.
in public comment that would take this money for their programs, so hang tight.
We're very grateful.
Okay. Thank you. We'll hold this open until the final conclusion of the May revise next week. Next, the community colleges. And there are about, I think, 12 issues here. So rather than going through each individually, we're going to ask the Department of Finance, the LAO, and the Chancellor's Office to go through them all at once. Okay, Department of Finance.
Thank you. Keith Nizam, Department of Finance. The May revision for the California Community Colleges includes a net increase of $180 million in Proposition General Fund expenditures over the proposed governor's budget. The items in your agenda are as following. There's a $75 million increase for base apportionments to reflect increase in operation costs in a variety of areas, including facilities and employee benefits. Next, there's the online education initiative proposal. We propose a one-time funding of $20 million Proposition 98 General Fund to expedite and enhance the development of online courses through the online education initiative. This is intended to improve student access to quality online courses that may not be available or offered at particular campuses. On the zero textbook cost degree proposal, the May revision continues to propose investing $5 million to develop zero textbook cost degrees intended to reduce the cost of instructional materials for students. Within that proposal, we modify some trailer bill in areas such as reducing the maximum grant amount down to $200,000 from $500,000, emphasizing the use of existing open educational resources to expedite development of the degrees. We emphasize consideration of sustainability and clarification that the degrees need to comply with copyright and ADA laws, and emphasizing faculty flexibility in customizing those degrees. Next issue, the May revision proposes a $2.1 million increase to the full-time success grant to reflect an increased estimate of eligible participants and inclusion of Cal Grant C students. This grant provides $600 annually to Cal Grant recipients enrolled in 12 or more semester units. Next, we have the Equal Employment Opportunity proposal. There's a one-time funding appropriation for $2.3 million Employment Opportunity Fund to promote equal employment opportunities in hiring and promotion at the community colleges. Next, there is a $5 million one-time grant proposal for Proposition 98 General Fund in the area of adult education to provide statewide technical assistance and coordination to adult education consortia. There's some trailer bill modification to clarify the funding disbursement schedule within the adult education grant. Next is a $3 million proposal of Proposition 98 General Fund to support the use of digital course content for community college courses being offered to inmates under the jurisdiction of the CDCR. Next, there is a $12 million investment in technology infrastructure to expand broadband capacity across community college campuses for students, faculty, administrators. Expanding the use of online instruction technology in classrooms reflects an intention to provide greater access and improve student success for students. And aside from what's covered in the agenda, there's also a net total of $60.5 million in other expenditures that aren't mentioned but will be hopefully covered at a subsequent hearing.
Thank you.
And Brianna Brent's Department of Finance. The governor's budget included $200 million in Proposition 98 for the Strong Workforce Program. The amount is remaining the same in the May revision. However, there are a few technical changes in the trailer bill, which are outlined in your agenda as well.
LAO.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Judy Hyman from the Legislative Analyst Office. Regarding the $75 million general purpose base increase, we recommend adoption. We think given the additional resources available at May revision, it makes sense to give the community college districts some flexible funding they can use towards their highest priorities. We wanted to bring up a related issue related to enrollment growth that is not in the governor's May revision proposal. His proposal has no change in enrollment levels from the January budget, but apportionment reports that we've received just this week indicate the system is falling below the May revision enrollment levels by about 12,000 full-time equivalent students. We recommend reducing the current year 2015-16 enrollment growth funding by $60 million to recognize this new information, and then reducing funding by the same amount in the budget year just to carry forward that lower base, while still maintaining 2% enrollment growth from that lower base. That would ensure sufficient funding next year in the event that community colleges are able to begin seeing more robust enrollment.
And where would you redirect those community college?
Ideally to other one-time priorities. Certainly the current year funding would need to go to one-time priorities such as maintenance.
Okay.
We would also recommend using budget year funds for one-time priorities to build more of a cushion against potential declines in the Proposition 98 minimum guarantee in the next few years. Regarding the online education initiative, the proposal for $20 million to accelerate progress, the initiative is well underway, has made good progress on a number of its component projects, and we believe the Chancellor's Office could significantly accelerate that movement with the proposed May revision funding. Before approving the proposed funding, however, we recommend that you ask the Chancellor's Office to identify the specific deliverables that you can expect to see as a result of the proposed funding. For example, how many online exchange courses are they planning to pilot in the next few years, and how would this funding increase that number? Regarding the changes to the Strong Workforce Program, we recommend approving the substantive changes proposed. But we recommend modifying the proposal to remove a new requirement that LAO approve the proposed funding allocations. We don't believe that that's an executive branch function. We think it would be appropriate for us to review the proposed allocation and notify you of any concerns we identify, but we shouldn't be involved in actually approving an administrative allocation. Regarding the zero textbook cost degree program policy proposal, we recommend approving the May revision changes. Several of the governor's proposed changes are consistent with recommendations that we made in January, and others provide helpful clarifications. We further recommend requiring the Chancellor's Office to coordinate the program with related initiatives in the state, such as an ongoing Open Educational Resource Adoption Incentive Grant for CSU and community colleges. And then, as you'll hear in a moment, we recommend you consider linking this program with efforts to provide free course materials for state inmates who are enrolled in community college classes. We recommend that you adopt the governor's proposed increase in the full-time student success grant to include Cal Grant C recipients. This also reflects an option we suggested you consider in January if you're interested in increasing financial aid for CTE students. Community colleges were able to implement the new program very quickly after you approved it last year for Cal Grant B students, and they should have no difficulty adding Cal Grant C students and expanding the program also quickly. We recommend adopting the proposal to use special fund monies for their intended purpose under the EEO program. And we also recommend adopting the governor's May revision proposal for adult education technical assistance. Although many of the consortia have successfully transitioned to the new model for delivering adult education, some of them are continuing to struggle with developing the relationships and structures they need to collaborate effectively, and the additional one-time funding could help them come together and could help all consortia improve their practices and outcomes through better coordination, professional development, and targeted technical assistance. The proposal to provide digital instructional materials for inmates we recommend you reject. We have a number of outstanding questions regarding this proposal. It didn't include sufficient information for you to really evaluate it well. Just for example, the community college system's inmate and reentry education program reports that very few faculty have chosen to use content on the existing CDCR e-readers for their courses. Some of them prefer using printed materials that inmates can actually take back to their cells to do homework. And also, unlike the e-textbooks that CDCR has purchased or actually rented, with earlier funds, books don't expire at the end of the academic term. So to the extent that you're interested in considering this initiative, we recommend that you direct CDCR and the Chancellor's Office to work together on bringing something back to you next year that's more fleshed out. And in the meantime, you could consider amending the Governor's zero textbook cost degree proposal to include in its priorities the creation of free open educational resources for courses that are offered to student inmates and that would work on CDCR's e-readers. And finally, we recommend adopting the proposed augmentations for the technology infrastructure proposal. We think the TTIP program has developed a solid plan for using these funds to expand internet capacity across the system as it prepares to implement the to fully roll out the online ed initiative, the ed planning initiative, the common assessment initiative, and other statewide technology initiatives.
Okay, thank you. Community colleges?
Just to be clear, we're going to go through issue by issue on these, right?
You can just, we're trying to move
Got it.
fastly, so
Perfect.
highlight
Work.
the
I think
finance already given it.
Yeah, we're generally in agreement with the vast majority. Mario Rodriguez, the California Community Colleges. We're generally in agreement with most of what's in the May revision. We have a few areas of concern. One area is the instructional materials provided for inmate education, similar to what the LEO said. We don't know if that's I'm sure there is a concern and a priority there, but it's definitely not something that we've heard robust support for in our system. And creating an ongoing program for something that we've really never heard much about seems not appropriate. We also have concerns, although the LAO is correct in the fact that the current year allocation for $39 million for the student success grants for financial aid to sit on top of the Cal Grant B awards. We've been able to successfully administer that. We've had concerns in the past, and we would have concerns with the expansion of using Proposition 98 to support financial aid directly to students. The intended use, in our opinion, of Proposition 98 is to support classroom instruction and related expenditures. But the biggest takeaway, I think, for the May review guys is our number one request coming into this was supporting the $75 million base increase. And so we're thankful to Finance, and we're also thankful to this committee for your past support of these initiatives. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And I know we ran through these, and so there are 10 items here. So any comments or questions from committee members on any of the 10 issues?
Just three. I'll be quick. Only three of them I want to talk about. Appreciate this continued support of Adult Education Consortium because, as the LAO mentioned, we're still in the process. There still needs work to be done, so I'd like that to be continued. As far as the incarcerated adults and their technology, you know, I've been visiting prisons lately, and one of the things I noticed, they have a lot of in their cells. They all have little iPads and computers, so we may want to look at, I think they do have access to a lot of electronics in their cells.
Really?
So, just an observation. I was surprised how many of them had them in there. And and as far as this whole issue, we're looking at zero textbook costs and degrees. Maybe, Mr. Rodriguez, you can answer this. What is the role of the stores for the selling of the books? Are they part of this decision process that you're putting together?
As far as the proposal,
As far as them being part of this zero textbook cost degree initiative we're going through, are they involved with, are the college stores involved with this process? I know I talked to some people over the librarians. We have obviously some technology experts in there, and you have staff, the academic senate. Are the stores also involved in this? Since I understand they're a standalone, so are they part of this whole process?
yeah, it's just a proposal. Maybe LAO or finance might be better at that.
Okay.
Sure. Chris Ferguson with the Department of Finance. We would expect that as part of the multi-team member approach, that community college administrators and faculty members would be consulting with their local campus bookstore.
So that's a yes.
So it's a yes in that we think that it's very open. They might not be explicitly called out in the language, but they are not precluded from participating in a multi-team member.
I was just going to mention the same thing. It's not currently in the language. Campuses that we've talked to have indicated that the college stores are important partners in this process and should be included.
Okay, I guess I'll do it another way, but I just want to express that. I've been looking at that also when I've been visiting community colleges. I want them to be involved in it also. But the last thing was, no, I'll let that one go. Okay, thanks.
Assemblymember Irwin.
I just want to make a couple of comments on issue 14, other proposals. I was happy to see there's a proposal for the Veteran Resource Center. Since becoming the chair of the Veteran Affairs Committee, I've become much more aware of the challenges that are faced by veterans when they're attempting to reintegrate into civilian life. I was really encouraged a few weeks ago. We had a number of post 9/11 veterans come by and advocate for this proposal for the Veteran Resource Centers. I find it very surprising that with the millions of dollars we spend on student success, there's not a single dollar, as far as I know, that is directed to meeting the needs of the veterans that are on our campuses. As we all know, the GI benefits are very limited, and if we don't get these young men and women in the right direction, taking the right classes, they can burn through their benefits before they even graduate from community college, and we certainly don't want that. So I think it's a great proposal, and I will certainly support it going forward.
Okay. Mr. O'Donnell? Okay. Thank you. I know we're going to hear a lot from the public in this realm, and certainly comment?
If I could make one additional comment on adult inmate digital instructional materials. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation currently has 7,500 e-readers in their possession that have these instructional materials on them. The contract for the instructional materials will expire in September of this year. Without the additional $3 million, there would be no electronic instructional materials available to use on those e-readers that they have already purchased and have.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
And I'll just note that there were a few issues that we heard during the regular community college hearing that we may hear now from others, but the desire from the committee, the chair, certainly in issues that we addressed last year are taking a look at these, such as part-time faculty as well as the Puente program, wanting to reinstate the funding that we lost during the recession there. So with that, we will hold the community college May revised proposals open. And we have now, before public comment, one final issue from the administration, the state library. Yeah, and a lot of things they do, you see there serve one time. So that's why they did the Okay, Department of Finance.
Good morning, Jack Swald, Department of Finance. The California State Library is the central reference and resource library for the state and provides resources to state employees and the general public. Consistent with that responsibility, the May revision provides $505,000 for the purchase of microfilm, database subscriptions, and academic and scientific journal subscriptions. Of that amount, $343,000 will be used to purchase microfilm copies of all 2015 newspapers printed by more than 2,200 individual publications. These newspapers include major newspapers like the San Francisco Chronicle, as well as smaller publications, some of which have limited to no online presence. $141,000 will be used to cover subscription costs for a number of databases and other e-resources. Many state departments rely on the library for access to databases for legislative research, economic analysis, and scientific studies. These funds would ensure continued access to these resources. $21,000 will be used for subscriptions to specialized journals and periodicals. There are more specific academic and scientific publications used by state researchers. In making budget decisions resulting from rising costs in other areas of its budget, the State Library has ended some of these subscriptions. Several agencies have reported that the move has impaired their ability to conduct business. In addition, costs of these subscriptions are rising beyond what the State Library can absorb with its existing resources without impacting the level of service. The proposal allows for continued access to the information. Thank you.
LAO?
Natasha Collins with the Legislative Analyst's Office. We recommend rejecting without prejudice the governor's proposal. We've received little information on the proposals, such as base funding, how the library was paying for these services earlier in prior years, also information about utilization of these services, and a case for why we should be purchasing these subscriptions. Thanks.
State Library.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, Finance summarized it pretty well. I mean, the costs of our operations and the costs of these subscriptions, these databases that both the administration uses and you all, as well as the California Research Bureau, and the Legislative Analyst's Office. I mean, those have been going up at a fairly significant rate, in part because of consolidation in some of these industries. You know, like the book publishers, for example, the record industry, the microfilm people have consolidated, and it's harder to get to negotiate a good deal through them. So this is an effort to, I would say this, and I'll probably never say it again, but God bless the Department of Finance for recognizing that the core mission of the library is to provide information, and that this, even though it's kind of a lousy budget year, I mean, they found some dough to help us bring back these databases that we've heard from our users throughout the state are valuable to them. And what's hard, I guess, for being the library for a state as diverse as California is there's these journals and these technical things that are used by fish and game biologists. There's stuff from seismic engineers at Caltrans. I mean, there's a whole array of different things. And what Finance is allowing us to do is to sort of patch us through, you know, kind of a rough place where the costs have gone up too quick for us to keep up, and give us a chance to keep providing the services that our patrons are asking for. I mean, part of this money, in fact, goes to returning a online database that allows the lawyers in state government to do their, I'm going to get it wrong, is it the continuing, like every year you have to get
CLE.
a continue, what is it?
Continuing legal education.
Right. So this is an online thing that allows them to do that. And so when we stopped it or didn't renew it because of our financial issues, the lawyers said, "Oh my God!" Now, so each of our departments has to go out and subscribe to this, or worse, right? We have to get it in paper, right? Which is more expensive, both for them and time-consuming and expensive for the taxpayers.
Okay.
I could go on and on, but you have a busy agenda.
Thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? Hearing none, we'll hold this issue open as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We'll come back with our May Revise final package next week on this. Okay, with that, we will now proceed to public comment on any and all issues that we heard today. So please line up in the middle there, and we'll ask each individual to hold their comments to 1 minute or less, 60 seconds or less.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Debbie Cochran. I'm with the Institute for College Access and Success, and I'm actually wanted to speak very briefly about two topics that haven't been talked about today. This is the Cal Grant program and also the Middle Class Scholarship program. The Assembly has obviously been a huge leader in the issue of college affordability in the last several years, and we know that hundreds of thousands of students every year are being turned away, students living in poverty, from the Cal Grant program because there aren't enough grants available. In the meantime, there's money that's going unspent every year in the budget from the Middle Class Scholarship program. So we and more than a dozen other organizations respectfully submitted a letter to you all yesterday asking that you strengthen Cal Grants in the 2016-17 budget, and that can be done at no additional budgetary cost by redirecting the savings from the Middle Class Scholarship program. Thank you.